Commander Li Huan stood on the bridge of the human diplomatic vessel New Seoul and watched the alien inspectors board his ship. The tall, blue-skinned Dominion officials walked with the confidence of beings who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Inspector Veltar led the group with his 6 arms crossed and his 4 eyes scanning everything with obvious boredom. "Another primitive demonstration," Veltar said in his translator device. "Why do we waste time with these creatures?" Li Huan kept his face calm, but inside he felt nervous. For 50 years humanity had played this role. They pretended to be a young species that had just learned to travel between stars. They showed the Dominion simple technology and acted grateful for trade agreements. It was all a lie, but a necessary one. Dr. Park Mira walked up beside him. She carried a small device in her hands that looked like a basic energy scanner. The aliens expected to see crude human technology today. They would see fusion reactors that barely worked and computers made from simple metals. At least that was the plan. "Are you ready?" Li Huan asked quietly. Mira nodded, but her hands shook slightly. "The reactor display unit is prepared. It should look primitive enough." Ambassador Kim Tae-ho joined them near the viewing window. His job was to translate and make excuses when human technology seemed too advanced. He had become very good at acting surprised by simple alien devices and asking basic questions about galactic science. The inspection began in the engine room. Veltar and his team gathered around what appeared to be a basic fusion reactor. The device hummed quietly and displayed simple energy readings on crude screens. Mira explained how it worked using basic physics terms. "This reactor powers our entire ship," she said with fake pride. "We can travel almost 2 light years before needing fuel." The aliens laughed. Their smallest scouts could travel 1,000 light years without stopping. Veltar waved one of his scanning devices at the reactor and shook his head. "Primitive fusion, barely contained plasma. How do you not destroy yourselves with such crude technology?" What the aliens did not know was that they were looking at a carefully built fake. The real reactor was hidden behind dimensional barriers and was actually a miniaturized stellar core. It could power 100 star systems if needed. The fake reactor was designed to fool their scanners and show exactly what a primitive species would build. The tour continued to the computer core. Banks of simple processors lined the walls with blinking lights and spinning drives. Kim Tae-ho proudly explained how these computers could store the knowledge of their entire planet. "Amazing that you fit so much information in such large machines," Veltar said with amusement. His own personal device probably had more computing power than what he was seeing. Again, this was theater. The real computer systems used quantum consciousness matrices that could predict future events and process information from multiple dimensions. The fake computers were carefully crafted antiques that barely functioned but looked impressive to primitive standards. The inspection moved to the weapons systems. Mira showed them simple plasma cannons that could barely damage asteroids. The aliens nodded with approval at such weak firepower. They had no idea that the ship's real weapons could edit reality itself and remove targets from existence across multiple timelines. Everything was going according to plan until they reached the materials testing station. Mira had prepared samples of basic human metals and composites. The aliens would scan them and see simple atomic structures that any young civilization might discover. But something went wrong. Veltar aimed his most powerful scanner at what appeared to be a simple steel plate. The device immediately began smoking and making warning sounds. He looked confused and tried adjusting the settings. The smoke got thicker. "What is this material?" he demanded. Mira felt panic rising in her chest. The sample was supposed to be simple iron mixed with carbon. Instead, she had accidentally grabbed a piece of dimensional steel that existed in 17 different realities at once. Her hands had been shaking and she picked up the wrong sample. "It is just basic steel," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Veltar's scanner exploded. The other aliens stepped back in shock. Advanced Dominion technology did not simply explode. Their scanners were designed to analyze anything in known space. Veltar stared at the burning remains of his device with all 4 eyes wide. "That is impossible," he whispered. Li Huan knew they were in trouble. Admiral Choi Yuna had warned all human ships about this exact scenario. If the aliens discovered their real technology too quickly, it could lead to panic or war. The masquerade had to be maintained at all costs. Perhaps, your scanner malfunctioned, Kim Tae-ho suggested helpfully. Our materials are very basic, nothing special about them. But Veltar was not convinced. He pulled out a backup scanner and aimed it at the steel sample from a safe distance. This device also began smoking within seconds. He quickly shut it, off before it could explode. The other inspectors gathered around and began whispering in their native language. Li Huan could understand some of it through his hidden translation implants. They were scared and confused. Advanced alien technology was not supposed to fail when scanning primitive materials. We need more powerful analysis equipment, Veltar announced. This material requires deeper investigation. Mira tried to distract them by showing other samples, but the aliens were no longer interested in the fake demonstration. They had found something that challenged their understanding of physics and technology. 3 more scanning devices failed when aimed at various human materials. The tour ended early with the aliens rushing back to their ship. Through the viewports, Li Huan watched their vessel speed away toward the nearest Dominion outpost. He knew they would be reporting this incident to their superiors within hours. How bad is this? Kim Tae-ho asked. Li Huan activated his secure communication system. Admiral Choi, we have a problem. The masquerade may be compromised. Choi Yuna's voice came through clearly from Earth. What happened? They tried to scan our materials. Multiple devices failed. They know something is wrong. There was a long pause before the Admiral responded. Prepare all ships for possible exposure. If they dig deeper, they will find more inconsistencies. Mira sat down heavily in a nearby chair. I am sorry. I grabbed the wrong sample. My hands were shaking and I made a mistake. It was bound to happen eventually, Li Huan said. We have been pretending to be primitive for 50 years. The technology gap is too large to hide forever. Across the galaxy, similar incidents were beginning to occur. Human traders were accidentally revealing materials that broke alien scanners. Diplomatic vessels were showing energy signatures that made no sense according to known physics. The careful masquerade that had protected humanity for decades was starting to crumble. On the Dominion capital world, emergency meetings were being called. Reports flooded in from across human space describing technology that seemed impossible. Simple human materials that existed in multiple dimensions. Basic human computers that could process infinite calculations. Primitive human ships that bent space and time in ways that advanced civilizations had never achieved. Inspector Veltar stood before the Dominion Council and delivered his report with shaking hands. The humans are not what we thought. Their primitive technology defies our understanding of science. We may have made a terrible mistake in our classification of their species. The council members looked at each other with growing concern. For 50 years they had treated humans as barely civilized primitives. They had offered them basic trade agreements and refused them membership in the galactic community. If the humans were actually advanced beyond their understanding, then the entire balance of power in the galaxy might be shifting. Send more investigators, the council leader ordered. We need to know exactly what we are dealing with. Back on the New Sol, Li Huan received new orders from Earth Command. Maintain the masquerade as long as possible, but prepare for full revelation. If they push too hard, we may have no choice but to show them what we really are. As the ship headed back to Earth, Li Huan wondered if humanity was ready for what was coming. They had hidden among the stars for so long that many had forgotten their true nature. But the galaxy was about to learn that the primitive humans were actually something far more dangerous and powerful than anyone had ever imagined. 3 days after the scanning incident, Dominion science ships arrived at Earth in large numbers. The aliens came demanding answers about human technology that had destroyed their equipment. They brought their most advanced analysis devices and teams of experts who specialized in studying primitive civilizations. Engineer Nam Jisoo watched the alien ships approach from her workshop in lunar orbit. She had designed most of the fake human technology that the galaxy believed was real. Her job was to make advanced systems look primitive while still being functional enough to fool basic inspections. They brought a lot of ships this time, she said to her assistant. Captain An Sukman was loading his cargo vessel nearby. His ship looked like a basic transport but contained technology that could reshape matter at the atomic level. Like all human vessels, it was carefully disguised to appear crude and inefficient. "Should we be worried?" he asked. Namjisu shook her head. "We have been preparing for deeper inspections for years. The fake systems can handle more advanced scans." But she was wrong. The Dominion scientists set up their equipment on the surface of Earth and began analyzing everything they could find. They scanned buildings and vehicles and basic human computers. At first, everything seemed normal. The results matched what they expected from a primitive civilization that was just beginning to explore space. Then they tried to analyze human, faster-than-light travel. Dr. Scientist Ryu Dayon met with the alien experts in a conference room in Geneva. She had prepared detailed explanations of how human ships traveled between stars using what appeared to be basic hyperspace technology. "We punch holes in space using concentrated energy," she explained with charts and diagrams. "Then we travel through the tunnels to reach other star systems." The lead Dominion scientist nodded. This was exactly how primitive species learned to travel faster than light. But when they scanned an actual human ship, the readings made no sense. "Your vessel is not using hyperspace," the alien said with confusion. "According to our instruments, you are bending space-time itself. This should be impossible with your level of technology." Ryu Dayan felt sweat on her forehead. Human ships did not use hyperspace tunnels like other species. Instead, they folded space and time around themselves to achieve instantaneous travel across any distance. It was far more advanced than anything the Dominion had ever seen. "Perhaps your instruments are not calibrated correctly for human technology," she suggested, but the aliens were not convinced. They brought more powerful scanners and aimed them at Captain An Seokman's cargo ship. The results were even more disturbing. The ship appeared to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, while being constructed from materials that repaired themselves at the quantum level. "This is not primitive technology," the lead scientist announced. "We need to examine your manufacturing processes." Namjisu was forced to give them a tour of what appeared to be human factories. She showed them assembly lines where simple robots built basic components using crude tools. The aliens seemed satisfied until they tried to scan the finished products. Every human device contained materials that existed in impossible configurations. Simple computers used quantum consciousness matrices that could predict future probability streams. Basic communication equipment accessed dimensions that Dominion science said did not exist. Even human clothing was woven from fibers that existed, partially outside normal spacetime. "How do you create these materials?" the aliens demanded. "We use basic industrial processes," Namjisu replied. "Nothing special about our methods." But their own scans showed manufacturing techniques that defied known physics. Human factories were not building products in the normal sense. Instead, they were growing items from dimensional templates and infusing them with properties that should have been impossible to achieve. The investigation moved to human computers. The aliens expected to find simple processors made from basic materials. What they discovered instead were devices that operated on principles they could not understand. Ryu Dayon showed them what appeared to be a standard human computer. It had a simple screen and keyboard and seemed to run basic programs. But when the aliens scanned its internal components, they found technology that existed in 17 different dimensions while processing infinite calculations simultaneously. "This computer appears to be predicting future events," one of the scientists said with shock. "It is just running probability calculations," Ryu Dayon explained. "Nothing more advanced than basic statistics." But their scans showed the device accessing information from timelines that had not happened yet. It was consulting versions of itself from alternate realities and processing data that existed outside the normal flow of time. The aliens tried to replicate human technology using their most advanced manufacturing systems. Every attempt failed completely. Their machines could not even begin to understand the materials that humans used for everyday objects. Captain An Seokman was asked to demonstrate his cargo ship for the alien experts. He agreed, and powered up the vessel while they watched from a safe distance. The ship lifted off from Earth using what appeared to be simple anti-gravity engines, but their instruments showed something impossible. The ship was not fighting gravity, but instead was editing local space-time to make gravity irrelevant. It existed in a bubble of altered reality where the normal rules of physics did not apply. How do you control these effects without destroying your ship? An alien engineer asked. We just flipped the gravity switch, An Seokmin said with a shrug. Very simple system. The aliens exchanged worried looks. Controlling space-time required massive amounts of energy and incredibly advanced technology. Even their most powerful warships could barely achieve basic gravity manipulation. This human cargo ship was casually rewriting physics while its pilot treated it as routine. The situation got worse when they examined human weapons. Ryu Daeon showed them what appeared to be simple plasma rifles used by human security forces. The weapons looked crude and basic, but their scans revealed technology that terrified the experts. These weapons do not fire energy projectiles, one scientist reported with a shaking voice. They appear to edit local reality to remove targets from existence. They are just basic plasma guns, Ryu Daeon insisted. We use them for hunting and self-defense. But the aliens could see that these weapons operated by accessing parallel dimensions and deleting objects across multiple timelines simultaneously. A single shot could remove something from reality so completely that it had never existed in the first place. Back on the Dominion capital world, emergency reports were flooding in from the investigation teams. Human technology was not just advanced, beyond their understanding. It was operating on principles that their science said were impossible. The Dominion Council met an emergency session to discuss the growing crisis. For 50 years, they had classified humans as a Level 2 primitive civilization. Now their experts were reporting technology that exceeded anything in known space. How is this possible? The council leader demanded. Species do not evolve from primitive to impossible in 50 years. Perhaps they were never primitive, suggested one advisor. Maybe we made an error in our initial classification. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. If humans had been hiding advanced technology for 50 years, then everything the Dominion believed about galactic civilization was wrong. A species with impossible technology had been pretending to be primitive while living among them. What else might they be hiding? Another council member asked. That question sent waves of fear through the assembled aliens. If human civilian technology was this advanced, then what did their military systems look like? What were their real capabilities, and why had they been pretending to be weak? On Earth, Namjisu received new instructions from the hidden command centers. The masquerade is failing faster than expected. Prepare for possible full revelation within days. She looked out at the alien ships surrounding Earth and wondered how they would react when they learned the truth. Humanity had been protecting the galaxy for thousands of years while pretending to be newcomers. The technology they had revealed so far was barely 1% of their real capabilities. Captain An Seokmin powered down his cargo ship and walked over to join her at the observation window. How long do you think we can keep this up? Not much longer, Nam Jisoo replied. They are asking questions we cannot answer without revealing everything. Across human space, similar conversations were happening. The careful masquerade that had protected both humanity and the galaxy for so long was crumbling under scientific investigation. Soon the Dominion would discover that their primitive human neighbors were actually beings of impossible power who had been watching over them from the shadows. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for that revelation. General Song Woo-jin stood in the war room beneath Seoul and watched the alien demands flood in through secure channels. The Dominion Council was no longer asking polite questions about human technology. They were demanding full military inspections and threatening trade sanctions if humanity refused to comply. They want to see our weapons and defenses, reported his aide. The council believes we may be hiding military technology that threatens galactic security. Song Woo-jin almost laughed at the irony. Humanity had been protecting galactic security for centuries while pretending to be helpless primitives. Now, the very people they protected were demanding to inspect the weapons that kept them safe from threats they did not even know existed. What are your orders, sir? asked Lieutenant Colonel Bae Suman as she entered the room. Her standard military uniform looked normal but contained technology that could phase her between dimensions and make her effectively immortal in combat. Prepare a limited demonstration, Song Woo-jin decided. Show them enough to satisfy their curiosity but not enough to cause panic. Dr. Han Kyung-ho joined them at the tactical display. As director of weapons research, he knew exactly how dangerous it would be to reveal human military capabilities to a galaxy that still used primitive energy weapons and physical armor. How limited should this demonstration be? He asked carefully. Show them Level 1 defensive systems only, Song Woo-jin ordered. Nothing that could be used for conquest and nothing that would reveal our true defensive capabilities. The demonstration was scheduled for the following day at a military facility in the Australian desert. Dominion observers arrived in their fastest ships expecting to see crude human weapons that barely functioned. They brought their own military experts and recording equipment to document primitive human warfare technology. Admiral Kresh commanded the alien observation team from his flagship that orbited Earth. His vessel was considered the most advanced warship in Dominion space with weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop any known attack. Let us see what these primitives call military technology, he said with amusement to his officers. The demonstration began with personal equipment. Lieutenant Colonel Bae Suman walked onto the testing field, wearing what appeared to be basic combat armor made from simple metals. The alien observers scanned her equipment and saw exactly what they expected from a primitive military. Standard, physical protection, one expert noted. Crude but functional for their level of development. Then the test began. Bae Suman activated her armor and immediately vanished from all sensors. The aliens could see her with their eyes, but their most advanced detection system showed nothing. She had somehow become invisible to technology while remaining visible to organic sight. Stealth technology, Admiral Kresh observed. Primitive, but effective. But when they tried to target her with practice weapons, something impossible happened. The targeting systems could not lock onto her location, even though she was standing directly in front of them. She existed in a state that made her undetectable by any technological means. How are you achieving this effect? An alien weapons, expert asked. Standard stealth armor, Bae Suman replied casually. Nothing special about it. What she did not mention was that the armor phased her partially into parallel dimensions while maintaining her presence in normal reality. She could be seen but not targeted because most of her existence was occurring in spaces that their weapons could not reach. The demonstration continued with weapons testing. Bae Suman drew what appeared to be a simple sidearm made from basic human metals. The alien scanned it and found a crude energy weapon that should have been barely more effective than throwing rocks. She aimed at a target drone and fired. The drone did not explode or burn or fall apart. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was flying through the air, and the next moment there was empty space where it had been. No debris, no energy signature, no trace that it had ever existed at all. The alien observers stared in shock at their instruments. According to every sensor, the target had never been there in the first place. Reality itself had been edited to remove the drone from existence across all timelines simultaneously. What kind of weapon is that? Admiral Kresh demanded with fear in his voice. Basic sidearm, Bae Suman answered. Standard issue for all human security personnel. Dr. Han Kyung-ho stepped forward to provide technical explanations that were carefully designed to sound primitive while hiding the true nature of the technology. We use focused energy to disrupt molecular bonds, he said. Very simple physics. But the aliens could see that this was not energy disruption. Their instruments showed localized reality alteration that required technology beyond their understanding. The weapon had not destroyed the target, but had convinced the universe that the target had never existed. We need to see your defensive systems, Admiral Kresh announced. His confidence was shaking as he realized these primitive weapons could probably penetrate any armor in known space. Song Woo-jin authorized the next phase of demonstration, what appeared to be a simple defensive satellite powered up in Earth orbit. To alien scanners, it looked like a basic shield generator that might protect small areas from light attacks. The satellite created what looked like a standard energy barrier around the test site. The aliens scanned it and found normal defensive technology that they had seen many times before. But when they tried to penetrate it with practice weapons, something strange happened. Their most powerful testing beams simply bounced off harmlessly. Energy weapons that could crack moons had no effect on what appeared to be a basic human shield. Even more disturbing, the barrier seemed to be learning from each attack and adapting to counter new threats. "How strong is this defensive field?" an alien engineer asked nervously. "It will stop most basic attacks," Song Woojin replied with massive understatement. What he did not mention was that the satellite was actually a compressed pocket universe containing entire military installations. The shield it projected could stop attacks that would destroy star systems, and the satellite itself could manufacture and deploy fleets of vessels that existed outside normal space-time. The aliens decided to test the defenses with more powerful weapons. Admiral Kresh authorized his flagship to fire a low-power blast at the barrier. The beam that emerged from his ship could have leveled mountains. The human shield absorbed it completely without even flickering. Kresh ordered increased power. The second blast could have destroyed cities. The barrier absorbed it and seemed to grow stronger. The third blast could have cracked continents. It had no more effect than the first. "Impossible," Kresh whispered as he stared at his instruments. "Our weapons should penetrate any primitive defense system." Dr. Han Kyung-ho activated his communicator and spoke to the satellite. "Thank you for the demonstration. Please return to standby mode." The barrier disappeared and the satellite powered down. To alien scanners, it once again appeared to be a simple, defensive platform with basic capabilities. They had no idea they had just witnessed technology that could defend against cosmic-level threats. The final demonstration involved human patrol craft. A single ship launched from Earth and approached the alien observation fleet. It appeared to be a basic scout vessel barely larger than a fighter craft and armed with primitive weapons. "Shall we scan their patrol ship?" an officer asked Admiral Kresh. "Proceed," Kresh agreed. "Let us see what passes for naval technology among primitives." Their scanners immediately overloaded and shut down. The ship they were examining contained technology that their instruments could not even begin to analyze. Energy readings fluctuated between impossible values, while the vessel seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Captain Lim So-young piloted the patrol ship and opened a communication channel to the alien flagship. "This is human patrol vessel Busan requesting permission to demonstrate combat maneuvers." "Permission granted," Admiral Kresh replied nervously. The small human ship began what appeared to be basic flight exercises. It moved slowly and carefully, as if limited by primitive engines. But their instruments showed something terrifying. The ship was not moving through space, but was instead folding space-time around itself, while casually violating every known law of physics. During one maneuver, the ship accidentally created a small black hole. The gravitational distortion appeared suddenly and began pulling in nearby asteroids and space debris. Every alien vessel immediately raised shields and prepared to flee from the dangerous phenomenon. Black holes were among the most feared forces in the galaxy and could destroy entire star systems if they grew large enough. Captain Lim So-young noticed the accident and casually corrected it. "Sorry about that," she transmitted to the alien fleet. "Sometimes the engines create small gravitational anomalies. Nothing dangerous." She pressed a few buttons and the black hole simply disappeared. Admiral Kresh stared at his instruments in horror. Creating black holes required massive amounts of energy and technology that could reshape matter at the quantum level. Dismissing them required even more advanced systems. This primitive human patrol ship had done both accidentally while performing routine maneuvers. "How did you eliminate the gravitational distortion?" he asked with a shaking voice. "Standard safety protocol," Captain Lim replied. "We just reverse the polarity and everything goes back to normal." The alien admiral realized that my professor, Oh Hyun-woo, walked into the emergency session of the Dominion Council, carrying files that would change everything the galaxy believed about human origins. The alien leaders sat in their great chamber demanding answers about technology that had shattered their understanding of science and warfare. "We require a complete explanation of human capabilities," declared the council leader. Your species has demonstrated technology that should not exist. We must know if you pose a threat to galactic civilization. Oh Hyunwoo placed his materials on the central podium and activated the holographic display system. Images of ancient star charts and archaeological evidence filled the air around him. The aliens leaned forward, expecting to see the primitive history of a young species that had recently learned to travel between worlds. Instead, they saw something that made no sense. Humans did not evolve on Earth, Oh Hyunwoo began quietly. We are refugees from a war that destroyed our original galaxy 50,000 years ago. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Species did not travel between galaxies. The distances were too vast and the energy requirements impossible even for the most advanced civilizations. Yet this human professor was calmly presenting evidence of intergalactic migration. That is impossible, protested one council member. No species has the technology to cross galactic space. Oh Hyunwoo activated another display showing star maps from regions of space that Dominion explorers had never reached. Our home galaxy was called Andrus Prime. It contained over 400 billion stars and thousands of advanced civilizations. We were part of an alliance that had achieved technology levels you would consider godlike. The images showed worlds that existed in multiple dimensions and megastructures that spanned entire star systems. Civilizations that could manipulate time and space as easily as the Dominion manipulated basic matter and energy. It was technology so advanced that it seemed like magic. What happened to this galaxy? Asked another council member with growing fear. It was consumed by entities we called the Devourers, Oh Hyunwoo replied. Beings that exist beyond physical reality and feed on the life force of entire star systems. They can consume space and time itself, leaving nothing but empty void where galaxies once existed. The aliens fell silent as they absorbed this information. The idea of creatures that could eat entire galaxies was beyond their worst nightmares. Even the most dangerous species they knew could only threaten individual worlds or star systems. Captain Lim So-young entered the chamber at that moment, carrying additional evidence from her deep space exploration missions. Her ship had just returned from beyond the galactic rim with proof that the ancient war was not yet finished. The Devourers have found us, she announced grimly. She activated her own displays showing sensor readings from the empty spaces between galaxies. Dark shapes moved through the cosmic void, consuming everything in their path. They were still distant but approaching steadily toward the Milky Way galaxy. How long before they arrive? Oh Hyunwoo asked, though he already suspected the answer. Based on their current speed, approximately 18 months, Captain Lim replied. They have been following the energy signatures we left during our escape 50,000 years ago. Dr. Yang Minho stepped forward to provide technical explanations that the council desperately needed. As a theoretical physicist specializing in dimensional research, he understood exactly what they were facing and why human technology seemed so impossible. Every device you have seen was originally designed to fight cosmic-level threats, he explained. Our dimensional phase armor was created to survive attacks that could unravel reality itself. Our reality editing weapons were built to fight enemies that exist across multiple timelines simultaneously. The alien leaders stared at him in horror as the implications became clear. The primitive human technology that had terrified them was actually carefully downgraded versions of weapons designed for intergalactic warfare. If this was what humans considered basic equipment, what were their real military capabilities? Earth is not a primitive world, Yang Minho continued. It is a hidden fortress designed to coordinate the defense of entire galactic regions. Every human settlement contains concealed military installations that exist outside normal spacetime. He activated a display showing the true structure of human civilization. What appeared to be simple colonies and research stations were actually massive defense platforms, capable of projecting force across thousands of star systems. Earth itself was revealed as a planet-sized war machine disguised as a peaceful world. The Q moon is not a natural satellite, he explained as gasps echoed through the chamber. It is a command fortress that has been coordinating defensive operations throughout this galaxy for 50,000 years. Every major threat that has been mysteriously eliminated was actually destroyed by human intervention. The council leader stood with shaking legs as he realized what this meant. You have been protecting us this entire time? The Dominion exists because we allow it to exist, Oh Hyunwoo confirmed. Every species in this galaxy lives under our protection, though none of them knew it. We eliminated cosmic threats before they could reach civilized space and maintained the illusion that you were governing yourselves. Images flashed through the display showing incidents the Dominion remembered as natural disasters or mysterious disappearances, entire hostile fleets that vanished without explanation, dangerous cosmic phenomena that suddenly changed course away from inhabited systems, ancient evils that awakened and then went silent for unknown reasons. All of these were human operations. Yang Minho explained. We have been fighting a shadow war to keep this galaxy safe while maintaining our masquerade as primitive newcomers. Captain Lim So-young brought up tactical displays showing the approaching Devourer fleet. The entities were vast beyond imagination, existing partially in normal space, and partially in dimensions that had no names. They consumed everything they encountered, while growing larger and more powerful. Our initial defensive lines have already engaged the advanced scouts, she reported. The battles are taking place in spaces between realities where conventional physics do not apply. So far, we are holding them back, but they are adapting to our strategies. The aliens listened in stunned silence as they learned about a war being fought in dimensions they could not even detect. Humanity was currently engaged in combat with cosmic horrors, while simultaneously maintaining their charade as primitive traders and diplomats. Why did you hide your true nature from us? Asked one council member. Because you were not ready for the truth, Oh Hyunwoo replied sadly. Most species cannot handle the knowledge that reality is far stranger and more dangerous than they imagine. We have seen entire civilizations collapse when they learned about the true nature of the universe. Dr. Yang Minho nodded in agreement. The Devourers are not the only threat that exists beyond normal space. There are entities that feed on fear and despair, beings that exist in the spaces between thoughts, forces that can turn entire populations insane just by revealing themselves. We became guardians because someone had to be, Oh Hyunwoo continued. Our civilization survived the destruction of our home galaxy and gained the knowledge needed to fight cosmic-level threats. It became our responsibility to protect younger species until they could defend themselves. The council leader looked around at his fellow members and saw fear in every face. They had spent thousands of years believing they were the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Now they learned they were children being protected by beings so powerful they could reshape reality itself. What happens now? He asked quietly. Captain. Lim So-young checked her tactical displays one more time before answering. The Devourers are moving faster than we anticipated. Our deep defense lines are beginning to fail, and they will breach the galactic rim within months rather than years. We can no longer maintain the masquerade, Oh Hyunwoo decided. Humanity must reveal its true nature and mobilize for total war. Every human in the galaxy will need to remember what they really are. Yang Minho activated emergency protocols that had been dormant for 50,000 years. Across human space, hidden installations began powering up, while sleeper agents received activation codes that awakened memories of their true purpose. You should prepare your people, he told the aliens. They are about to witness the awakening of a civilization that has been pretending to be primitive while actually wielding power beyond your imagination. The council members looked at each other with a mixture of terror and awe. They had demanded to know the truth about human capabilities. Now they understood that the truth was far more incredible and frightening than anything they could have imagined. In the depths of space beyond the galaxy, ancient enemies moved closer to inhabited systems. The Devourers had found their prey after 50,000 years of searching, and they brought with them the power to consume entire realities. But they would soon discover that the humans who had escaped their original assault had spent those millennia preparing for this moment. The masquerade was ending, and the galaxy was about to witness the true power of beings who had once fought gods among the stars and lived to tell about it. Fleet Admiral Kang Jinwoo stood in the command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, as reality itself began to change around him. The activation codes had been sent, and across human space, the Great Awakening was beginning. 50,000 years of careful disguise were ending as humanity prepared to face enemies that could devour entire galaxies. All strategic assets are responding, reported his aide. Hidden installations throughout the galaxy are powering up. The masquerade protocols are being disabled. Above them, the Earth began its transformation. What had appeared to be a normal planet with cities and oceans was revealing its true nature. The continents shifted as massive weapon platforms rose from beneath the surface. Mountain ranges opened to reveal energy collectors that began drawing power from parallel dimensions. Dr. Shin Ariam worked frantically at her dimensional warfare station as sensors detected the first Devourer scouts entering the galaxy. Her screens showed entities that existed across multiple realities simultaneously, while feeding on the fabric of space and time itself. They are different from what we faced in Andrus Prime, she reported with concern. 50,000 years of consuming galaxies has made them stronger. Our original weapons may not be sufficient. Colonel Yu Dongyuk activated the psychic warfare networks that connected human minds across vast distances. His consciousness expanded to coordinate with operatives throughout the galaxy as they prepared for battles that would take place in dimensions where thoughts became weapons. Human awakening is proceeding on schedule, he announced. Sleeper agents are remembering their true identities. Military installations that have been hidden for millennia are coming online. The moon revealed itself as the massive command fortress it had always been. The rocky surface peeled away like a shell, exposing gleaming structures that pulsed with power beyond comprehension. Weapon systems that could destroy solar systems extended from hidden chambers, while shields that could stop cosmic forces activated around Earth. Fleet Admiral Kang Jinwoo watched as his people shed their disguises and became what they had always been. Humanity was not a young species learning to explore space. They were the survivors of an intergalactic war who had evolved beyond the normal limitations of physical existence. Deploy the primary battle fleet, he ordered. What emerged from hidden bases throughout the solar system defied every law of physics. The galaxy thought it understood. Ships that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously, while being constructed from materials that repaired themselves across multiple timelines. Vessels that could think and adapt and grow stronger during combat. The Dominion fleet that had been observing Earth retreated in terror as they realized what they were witnessing. Admiral Kresh sent panicked reports back to his superiors describing technology that seemed more like magic than science. The humans are not what we thought, he transmitted. They are not primitive. They may not even be entirely physical. Their ships exist in spaces our instruments cannot detect, while wielding power that could reshape reality itself. Dr. Shin Ariam opened dimensional portals that allowed human forces to deploy instantly across galactic distances. Her warfare technology merged consciousness with machinery, creating weapons that responded to thought and intent rather than physical controls. The boundaries between human and machine had been transcended long ago. First contact with Devourer. Advance forces in Sector 7, reported Colonel Yu Donghyuk. Our scouts are engaging entities that consume space and time. Conventional tactics are ineffective. The battle began in dimensions that had no names. Human vessels phased between realities as they fought enemies that existed partially outside the normal universe. Weapons that could edit the fabric of existence clashed with forces that fed on the destruction of galaxies. Fleet Admiral Kang Jinwoo coordinated the defense from his command center, while monitoring battles that took place across multiple timelines simultaneously. His consciousness existed in spaces where human thought could directly influence physical reality, while his body remained anchored in normal space. The enemy is adapting faster than anticipated, Dr. Shin Ariam warned. They are learning from our attacks and developing countermeasures in real time. This was why humanity had hidden for so long. The Devourers grew stronger by consuming advanced technology and absorbing the knowledge of the civilizations they destroyed. Revealing human capabilities too early could give the enemy exactly what they needed to achieve total victory. Begin Phase 2 activation, Kang Jinwoo ordered reluctantly. The transformation of human civilization accelerated beyond anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Planets that had appeared to be simple colonies revealed themselves as massive industrial complexes that existed across multiple dimensions. Stars throughout human space began behaving strangely as artificial intelligence networks that spanned light-years activated ancient protocols. Colonel Yu Dongyuk projected his consciousness across impossible distances to coordinate human forces that fought in battles where victory and defeat occurred simultaneously across parallel timelines. His psychic warriors could exist in multiple realities at once while maintaining tactical awareness of conflicts that spanned entire galactic regions. The enemy main fleet has breached the outer defensive perimeter, he reported grimly. They are larger than anything we faced in the previous war. Our standard tactics may not be sufficient. Dr. Shin Ariam made the decision that would reveal humanity's deepest secret. She activated technology that had been considered too dangerous to use except in the most desperate circumstances. Her dimensional warfare systems began merging human consciousness with the fabric of space and time itself. Initiating transcendence protocols, she announced. All human forces are authorized to exceed physical limitations. What happened next defied description in any language known to the galaxy. Human ships began existing partially outside time, while their crews transcended the normal boundaries between thought and reality. They became beings of pure consciousness directing forces that could create and destroy on cosmic scales. The Devourers found themselves facing enemies they could not comprehend. Human vessels that attacked from past and future simultaneously, while existing in dimensions the Devourers could not reach. Weapons that struck across multiple timelines while powered by energy drawn from alternate realities. Fleet Admiral Kang Jinwoo felt his consciousness expand beyond his physical form, as he became something more than human and less than God. His awareness encompassed entire star systems, while his thoughts directed fleets that existed in spaces between dimensions. Target the primary Devourer consciousness, he ordered through communications that traveled faster than thought itself. The battle reached a crescendo that threatened to tear apart local space and time. Entities that fed on galaxies clashed with beings who had learned to exist beyond normal reality. Forces that could reshape the universe itself met weapons that struck from dimensions that existed outside cause and effect. Dr. Shin Ariam guided humanity through the transcendence process, while maintaining enough connection to physical reality to coordinate tactical operations. Her dimensional warfare technology allowed human forces to strike enemies that existed in multiple realities simultaneously, while protecting them from attacks that could unravel their existence across all timelines. Enemy forces are beginning to withdraw, Colonel Yu Donghyuk reported with amazement. The primary Devourer consciousness is retreating toward intergalactic space. The cosmic battle ended, not with destruction, but with something far more significant. The Devourers had encountered a force they could not consume or defeat. Humanity had evolved beyond their ability to comprehend and developed power that exceeded even cosmic-level threats. Some enemy forces are requesting communication, reported an aide with shock in his voice. Fleet Admiral Kang Jinwoo considered this unexpected development. In 50,000 years of warfare, the Devourers had never attempted negotiation. They consumed everything they encountered without exception. But human transcendence technology had apparently presented them with something they could not simply devour. Open a channel, he decided. The communication that followed took place across dimensions that existed beyond normal space and time. The Devourer consciousness acknowledged that humanity had achieved something unprecedented. They had become beings that existed partially outside reality, while retaining their essential nature as protectors and builders. You have transcended the limitations we thought governed all existence, the ancient entity communicated through methods that bypassed language entirely. We withdraw from this galaxy and will seek sustenance elsewhere in the universe. Some Devourers chose to remain and learn from humanity, rather than continue their endless consumption of civilizations. They had discovered beings who had achieved something they thought impossible. Creatures who could wield cosmic power without being corrupted by it or losing their essential humanity. The immediate crisis ended, but the galaxy was forever changed. The Dominion Council met an emergency session to discuss a new reality where their primitive human neighbors had revealed themselves to be transcendent beings who existed beyond normal physical limitations. Commander Li Huan addressed the assembled alien leaders with patience and understanding.